Well, hello and welcome to the channel. My name's Johnny and you're watching Hillbilly Shipwright. Yeah, I know, right? So if you hadn't seen the previous video that I posted about this, I bought this kit, 3 different vessels that came all together here for teaching us how to build wooden boats and ships. So this video, we're going to kick off on our very first wooden boat. And well, first for the channel, and that's going to be our Dory. So this is the Lowell Grand Banks Dory, and it is a 1/24th scale model. And as you can see here, this is the instruction manual for it. Now, since the box comes with all 3 kits and the paints and the tools and stuff, we're just going to tear into this and see how it goes. So we're going to take a look at this. Not all the way through, because we're going to start building this. And we're also going to open up these packages here and see what they've laser cut for us to build. And then, of course, we got our tools. We're going to be needing those. And that all comes in the kit. And so we're going to take a look at all that stuff. So let's jump down to the bench and get started with the manual. Okay, so what we got here is a green mat. And that's what we're going to be doing our ships on. And we've got our booklet here, and it is a booklet. Oh gosh. Let me zoom out a little bit here. There we go. So we're not going to go through the entire book. I mean, I showed you this stuff earlier on where they have really nice pictures and stuff, and most of it, as you can see, it's got a lot of reading in there, and we also have our plans. And this is 1-to-1 scale, so there is a read first, which I have already read, okay? And it encourages us to take our time when we do our build. And, of course, we've got our full-size plans here that shows us more or less how the boat's supposed to hopefully turn out. And then we've got, this is really neat, it tells us all the different parts, the bottom cleat and the bottom plank and the garboard plank and the stern and the false stem and so on and so forth all around. So we're going to learn, hopefully, what these parts are in the kit as we build. And, of course, there's an introduction, and they also have a scale ruler for us here if you would like to copy it and use that if you need to. We're going to be starting right here, the bottom of the boat, step 1. And what I'm going to do is I will go through and I'm going to read all this stuff, but I'm not going to read it to you because that would be boring. The whole idea is for us to get to the bottom section of the boat. And as you can see, the way these instructions are laid out, it's mostly in script form. So that means I need to read this, and I'm going to translate this into things that is easy for you to watch and follow along in the actual build process. So hopefully, in my hillbilly manner, I will be able to condense this into something that is much more graphic, because we're going to actually be doing it. So that's the manual, and it has 28 pages if you include the back. Talks about tools and all that good stuff. So I have read through it once, and I imagine before we get done I will read through it many more times. So the kit comes with all of this stuff here, to include tweezers and glue. Right, we're going to be needing this stuff, as well as paint. And for our Dory, we're going to be talking, or using, I should say, whole yellow ochre. And the bulwarks, dark green. You can see there. That's the only 2 paints that we use for it. Now, the kit does include these here, and I didn't see in the instructions what to do with these, so I'm going to reread that and see. We got wood conditioner, which is normally used to prepare the wood for paint, and then a clear Satin is what you would put over top of the paint once it's painted, or maybe you just use this on the bare wood on some kits. But these are included in the kit, and hopefully it'll tell us whether or not we need to use them on this particular build. So we got sandpaper, glue we already mentioned, tweezers, hobby knife, clamps, and paintbrushes. So we are going to need this. So the question is, can we build this with just what they give us? So we got our spare blades. It looks to be 5. And then we have our handle with a blade already inserted there. Plastic handle. So going to be careful with that. We're going to need clamps, but we don't need them right yet, so I will set these aside. I don't think we need them yet, but we'll tear into that when we need it. And we're not going to need our brushes for a while, so we'll set that aside, or I don't think so. Sandpaper we will need. We're going to need that. So let's get this out of the way right here and take a look at our wood. So for this kit, we have 2 packages of wood here. And this is basswood, and it is laser cut. It does not appear to be ply. No, I don't think so. So let's just go ahead and take a look. We're going to use our new blade here. So that seems to be quite sharp. Keep your fingers out of the way. We won't need that plastic anymore. So as you can see, these parts, this appears to be the cleat for the, no, this is for the bow. This is the cleat for the stern. I think it's a cleat. As you can see how it's laser cut, so what you can expect is that it may not be square. You're going to have to sand these down and get them square. So that's that part. Here we have the ribs of our frame and the stern section, and I'm not sure what those are, but it seems to be that the laser has cut through quite well. Now they do leave these little areas here that keeps the parts in, and the instructions tells us how to cut them, and I'm going to show you how they recommend us cutting these free when it comes time to use them. And it's very important that we keep everything in order, because the way the boat is made, of course, it tapers towards the bow and the stern, and you don't want to get that those mixed up. So we have oars, and as you can see, all these parts are laser cut. Now I think these are display aft support. So these are for our stand, and then these items here are for our making up our ribs on the boat itself. And this is our display base. So we will cut and sand and take care of all of that. And we have some options. Let me see here. I'm going to go through this real quick. I think it told me in the instructions that we had, yes, okay, well, it's all right here. I just overlooked it. It has a single piece bottom, or it has the 3-piece bottom that you put together. So you can decide on whether or not you want to use the single piece to make it easier on yourself, or if you want to build it traditionally with the 3-board bottom that's going to be the bottom of our actual boat. And then, of course, these are the, I'm going to call them seats, but they're not called seats. They're called something else. So we'll have to go back to the instructions and figure that out. And then here are the sides and the top railing and all of that. So that's nice. And I'm really glad they've already got these holes positioned for us where the pegs go in for our oars. Now this dory is a 2-person dory, and yes, there are positions for 4 sets of oars, but only 2 men operate this vessel. So, and here's the other side. Very nice, very straight, and this is just, as you can see here, the wood. It's not a ply or anything, it is just basswood. And then we have this part right here. This is our building board, which is one of the parts that we're going to start off with, I think. Or do we build the frames first? Well, we'll go back to our instructions and we'll find out. And it is numbered where we set each one of our ribs. We actually build this boat upside down. So there's that. That's all of our laser cut stuff. And then, of course, we have the other pieces, which are going to be cleats and ribs and all of that. And our rope. It is a sharp blade, so I'm really happy that they've given us that. So, whether or not you know anything about wood, I will tell you this, that I have seen in some cases where the wood is really feathered and frayed and what have you, and this looks to be very nice wood, very straight grained, and as you can see, it's not all fuzzy and everything and rough cut, so that's nice to see. And we have these other pieces. Now we are going to have to measure these pieces to make sure that we're using the right one. Here's a little bit of, I think that's just from the saw. I guess in a plastic model you'd call that flash, but that's not flash. That's just the little fibers there that are sticking out there. So the wood looks really good, and then we have a rope. That looks nice too. Very nice. Okay, so let's see. We will get rid of that. And I guess first thing we need to do is decide on the very first step. So, okay, what's our first step? Well, for me, I mean, you can read all this stuff. It's all really nice. Our plans that are right here in the book, what I've done is I've taken this to my printer and made copies of them. That way we don't have to keep flipping back and forth through the book when we need to set things on top of this and then lose our place in our instructions. So making a copy of these, and these are one-to-one drawings, so it's supposed to keep us out of trouble there. So making a copy of these, that's my first step. And then we get over to step 1. All right, the bottom of the boat. That's going to be our first step, and then it tells us about sanding. You know, it's put together with cross pieces of bottom cleats. I'm not going to read all this to you, but it takes us through all of this and about gluing and cleanup and all that stuff, and we get all the way over here. Now, remember, the cleats were mentioned over here, but we get all the way over here before we find out that there are 6 bottom cleats whose positions are marked across the planks. These marks should line up. Take the 3/64 by 1/8 inch strip. So they've taken us through all of this to tell us that finally over here. I would have done it differently, but you do need to read your entire step all the way through so that you know exactly what it is that you got to do. So 3/64 by 1/8 inch. Now, knowing that, what we need to do is figure out which one of those strips is going to be our cleats. So 3/64 by 1/8, is that right? Yes, that's right. So what I have here is calipers. And calipers, even though I can set in inch, it doesn't tell me 3/64 because it is digital. Okay, so I need to convert that. Now this is easy, guys. We're going to do some hillbilly math here. So 3/64 and 1/8. So this is very simple. This 3/64 is 3 divided by 64, and 1/8 is 1 divided by 8. You're gonna need a calculator. Just happen to have one here. Okay, so let's start off with 3/64. 3 divided by 64 equals, that is 3/64 of an inch on the digital scale. So that is 0.046, we'll call it 8 and not worry about the rest of it. And then we'll clear, there we go, 1/8, that's 1 divided by 8 equals 0.125. 0.125. So, now you can do this with every single one of your fractionals here, your imperial standard measurement. Take the top number, divide it by the bottom number, and that's going to give you your digital equivalent. So, let's see. We've got our wooden strips here that comes in the kit. As you can see, they're not marked. We don't know. We will start roughly with 125. I'll make sure that I'm in inch. And who is 125? No. Yes. That's going to be close enough. Measure this way. I don't think that's it. Oh no, that's it. 0.0475 is really close to 0.0468. Okay, that's close to 47. So that right there is going to be for our cleats, I guess. All right. I will set that one right there, and the others we need to set aside. So with that figured out, we can go ahead and remove these tools. We don't need these anymore. Turn off our calipers. We don't want that to die on us later. And we won't need our whiteboard for the immediate future. So our instructions tell us it is best to cut these from the back side. And what we're going to be cutting through are those little connection pieces there that holds these pieces into place. So I'm going to go ahead and work on and try to do our 3-plank bottom. Now we do have the laser cut single piece bottom in the event that, well, if we fail here, we'll go use that. And while I'm here at it, that plank is a little bit bigger than the laser areas that they have cut. Well, not plank, but our wood for our cleat. But I'm sure that that's what they meant for us to use. So I don't know. Let's go to our full-size plans here and just double check. So there is a little bit of difference there as well, same as what's on that, but I've measured it twice and I'm still getting the same thing. So it's still 1/8 by 3/64, no matter how I measure it. So that is the right one. And we get that out of the way. And the instructions recommend that, I think I already said that, but I'll say it again, that we cut these from the back side. So how am I going to do this? Well, I am going to cut it, as you can see here, here's the piece. I'm going to cut it towards the outside of the line there. And the reason why is so that we can sand this and get rid of that little piece there. Without damaging the actual part. So, did I get it all the way through? Yep, there we go. Now you don't want to try to pop these out, because if you do, you'll tear the wood. And as you can see, there's the little nubs there that are left. So we'll have to clean those up. Now they do recommend us sanding the burn part off of the wood there. And for these straight edges right here, we'll just flat sand that after we trim this down nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all 3 of our pieces out so that you don't have to watch me do that again. There we are with all of our pieces. And I'm just going to come in and trim this down. Funny thing about wood now, when you go to cut it like this, you got to be careful, because the blade's going to want to follow. And I may have cut into that one out. Want to follow the grain of the wood is what I'm getting at here. So trim that off. So of course we need to trim all of these up first. Sharp blade is a must. And then we can finish that by sanding that. So I'm going to show you here how I'm going to do it on this one. It says to sand in the instructions with the 150. That's 220. That would be 150. We're going to lay that down and hold this as vertical as possible, just to get us a nice straight edge here. If your mat is nice and level, you shouldn't have any issues. If it's even better to do this on a piece of glass. So if you have a piece of glass, I do have a piece of glass, I just haven't dug it out. But now you don't have to sand all of the laser cut off of it there, you know, but getting most of it should be fine, because it's supposed to be, we're supposed to be able to see these joints when we get done after we've even got it painted. So that's kind of what's going on there. All right, we need to sand like this, holding it vertical, and just want to remove most of that that burnt edge there, and make sure that we don't have anything sticking up right where we trimmed off those little tabs. I know a lot of you guys are saying, I know how to sand wood. Well, okay, that's fine. And that's just about it. Not going to do a whole lot more there. We don't want to change the shape of it. We just want to square that edge. Now, I don't know if my square is going to be good enough for you to see what's going on here. But if you can see it. Now, this is just a machinist square. I've got a little set of 3. I think I got them from Harbor Freight. So, kind of want to make sure that that edge is as square as we can get it, because if it's not square, then when we go to glue these up edge on, you're not going to have much of a contact surface there. So that's the point. That's what we're doing here. And in thicker parts, because of the laser cut, it can be a little bit angled, because it's going to burn more up towards the laser and less where it punches through. So that edge can be kind of canted there, have an angle on it, and you don't want an angle. You need to have your surfaces that you're going to glue together nice and flat, as flat as you can get it. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and sand all these up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Now, while I'm doing this, I've just got to thinking that I just want to show you this. We're trimming these little tabs off, and as you can see, the grain of the wood runs this way. And so the grain runs out in this curve. Well, if we cut it like this, we're going into the grain. Well, we don't want to go into the grain. We want to cut across the grain. Otherwise, you can split in or get a larger chunk out of that than really what you want to do. So, we're cutting across the ends of the grain there. That way we're not splitting up into the grain. Make sense? See, here on this side we'll cut this way. This one we'll trim it that way. So that's kind of what we're looking to do here. Just get that trimmed down a little bit there. And so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sand this one too. So okay, looking at our three pieces here, as you can see, it will all line up this way. Now, if we get them backwards, the markings for our front and rear cleats are going to line up, but all of the cleats in the middle are not. So, I think I'm calling it right. Am I calling it right? Cleats? Yes. Yeah, the bottom, 6 bottom cleats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's what we're talking about. So, I'm going to line it up correctly. That's what it should look like. Now, if you don't want to do this part like this, that's fine, because they have included here one that has all 3 of the boards together. But I just thought, since I like to do things complicated, we'll do it the complicated way. So that's that right there. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and glue these 3 up. All right, so we got all 3 of our pieces here all sanded and ready to go. So we'll set them aside for a second. Now the instructions recommends us using a small round brush. We're going to use the brushes that they provided us here. Small round brush. That's taped in. That's nice. For adding our glue. So, yes, this is glue, not cement. So, the glue we're going to be using is the glue that they have provided for us. So, I do need a little container here to put glue in, and this brush is hard. We're going to need some water, and I'm going to need a piece of paper towel as well, because as we glue this up, we're going to get it some squeeze out, and that'll let you know that you've got enough glue in your joint. There we go. That'll be fine. So that's ready, that's almost ready. And we have our glue bottle here. Pull the top off of it there. And it is closed, so we're going to have to open it. Just like so. I'm not ready to put glue out yet, because there's one more thing that I want to do to help us keep glue off of our mat here. I'm going to be using this cut right wax paper. Now they don't tell us to do this, but I think it's probably a good idea. There we go. Might be a good idea, might not be a good idea, but I've used wax paper before, and it usually works out for me. So, okay, so let's see. Which side do we need? I'm going to line this up. Make sure I've got the right one. Looks good. All right. So we're going to take a little bit of glue here. Don't need much. Don't want to waste that. You can use any wood glue that's out there. This is what they sent with the kit. This is just regular wood wood glue, yellow wood glue. There's several manufacturers of this type of glue. So now this is basswood, so you need to put enough glue on here so that it's not dry. Because if it's dry, it's not going to hold, of course. Now normally in woodworking you would put glue on both pieces and then join them. But we're not building furniture here. We shouldn't need to do that. As long as we put enough on one side, we can put the pieces together, get them aligned. Now this glue is going to grab our two halves together here, or our two planks edge on. It's going to grab it, and you want to get it positioned together before it does that. So I'm showing you here on the first one, and I think I got enough glue there. Okay, get that out of the way. And we're just going to slide these together. Line up our cleat marks there. I think I'm good. Does it look good from where you can see it? Because I'm kind of offset here. And we are getting squeeze out there. That's good. Plenty of squeeze out. So kind of hold it into place here for a moment. And we just want it to grab hold of the edges there. So in the past I have built furniture, and I do know that if you don't get enough glue on there, you are going to have a problem. So, all right. So that's nice. And next thing is to take a, this is how they say do it. I think I will do something a little bit different. Where's my toothpicks at? There we go. So we'll take toothpicks here. Kind of scrape the majority of the glue off there. You're going to have glue on the bottom too. That's why I'm using the wax paper here, so that it's not trying to glue itself down to my mat. And this glue is actually drying pretty quick. I'm kind of surprised about that. Okay, so flip it over. And the wax paper actually kept it from squeezing out everywhere. We only got one little spot right there that we actually need to attend to. Most of it came out across the top. Now you can always sand this, I guess. Which, I mean, we're going to end up sanding the entire boat anyway. But you got to have a nice flat level surface here to get that glued up. And then they talk about cleaning this up with water. I don't know that I need to do that. It looks pretty good. Now, one thing I will tell you is that If you plan on staining or have the natural wood look, glue can keep the stain or your varnish or polyurethane, whatever you put on your wood, it get a little splotchy. So you do need to clean that up to keep that from happening. But now in this particular case, this boat is going to be going to be painted. It's all going to be painted. So we shouldn't have to worry too much about that. Here on the bottom, put some water on. Now this basswood is going to soak up this glue and the water rather quickly. So as we go, once we finish this, we're going to make sure that we make sure everything's level. Yeah, nice and level, nice and tight, looks good. All right, so as you can see, it glues up pretty good. The next thing we need to do is glue the other side to it. So this will be the other bottom plank, and I want to do the exact same thing and glue this one into place too. All right, so we've got our bottom all glued up here, and it looks just like the one that's the single piece, but I decided we'd go ahead and do that. So I let this dry for an hour or two before we decided to continue on. So that looks good, and I don't think we need this anymore. So we'll get this paper out of the way. So next up is going to be our cleats. Now this is the piece of wood that we decided we needed, and this is the 3/64 by 1/8 inch. So, all right, so now not really sure where we need to go here, but it looks like we need to chamfer the edges there, or the ends rather. Not chamfer, but angle. We're going to angle cut that. So let's see. I think the best way to go about this would be to place it on there. And we can mark that. Now I'm not directly over top of it, so it may be a little bit yeah, that kind of looks good there. I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm making a big mistake, I don't know. So I'm just going to connect that right there and this right here. We can always sand it and trim it later to make sure it fits properly. So they say use a sharp chisel to do this. Now we do have a modeling chisel here. And you should just be, I mean, it doesn't really look right, but you can just do it like that, I guess. Looks good to me. Does it look good to you? And I have just dented my brand new mat here for our Hillbilly Shipwright. But there we go. So what does that look like? Does it look like it's about right? I think it's about right enough. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm just going to center it up here on the laser cut location there, because I know I'm using the correct width of plank or wood that we've got going on there. So yeah, that's gonna look, that'll look all right. So let's look at our instructions real quick. All right, so there are 6 bottom cleats whose positions are marked across the planks. These marks should line up. Take the 3/64 by 1/8 inch strip, which we already identified, of basswood and cut to pieces to length using a sharp number 17 chisel blade. I use that modeling chisel blade. We may use a different tool in a minute, but a note about the edges and corners. In boats and ships, all sharp edges and corners need to be softened. A fisherman could be badly hurt if thrown against an edge of a lively seaway. Also, this reduces the possibility of splinters. Yeah, you don't want to get a splinter while you're in the boat. All exposed edges are sanded off slightly in either a chamfer of a 45-degree angle or are radiusts. The upper edges of the cleats are treated this way. Don't overdo it though. So we don't want to do a lot of sanding. We just want to sand it down enough that we don't have those sharp edges there. See that sharp edge? And for this, I think I'm going to use I could probably just tear off a piece of this. What do you think? Yeah. So this is our 220 fine. And we're just going to use that to knock down the edge. Don't overdo it. So hillbillies try not to overdo this. Just like so. And just using light finger pressure here. Oops. We've got those edges knocked down right there. I'm also going to do the ends here just a little bit. Just like so. I think I'm shaking the camera. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So there we go. So that's our cleat that we've got. And this basswood sands really, really easy. So you got to really be careful or you will take way too much off. And so that's going to go right there in place. So what I'm going to do now is I want to cut the rest of these cleats that goes all the way down the bottom of our boat here. And I'm going to do them all the same because in the pictures they show that it doesn't really go all the way to the edges there. As you can see all along. So that's kind of what I'm after there. So I'm just going to use that laser cut as a guide for what we need to do there. So that one's going to be up here next to where the dots are, because the other end doesn't have any dots. So now I have a tool here I'm going to introduce you to. Now, I bought this when I was doing the Mayflower, which I never finished. So this tool right here is for cutting. And it is very, very sharp. So it's like pliers that snap off stuff. So that's going to be easier than using this. Although you can use one of these chisels. Now, this does not come in the kit. And I imagine you could probably still use the knife that comes in the kit, but I mean, why not use what we have? And since I have this, I'm going to use this. So we're going to do the same thing for the next one, and that is to check our angle there. And as you can see, the angle is a bit much, so I'm going to kind of just line it up there so that I can get, I want this angle to be like so. Take the safety off there. And we're just going to put that right there, like so. And that'll trim it right off for us. Now it does give us a little lip right there. We'll sand that down. We will sand that down. Just like so. And we'll check our work here. Actually, it looks okay. So I want to mark this, and we want to keep that right along there. Looks pretty good. Excuse me. And get our pliers back out here. Oops. Get that off. Just like so. Now that's much easier than using the chisel, but you can still use the chisel. It's not a problem. And let's see. So we want to go ahead and sand. It doesn't look the same on the other side there. Doesn't quite look the same. Get our little chamfer there. Remember, no sharp edges, and this is going to carry through for the rest of the build. The ribs and everything that's kind of towards the inside, towards the crew, or the fishermen or whoever. We don't want them to be exposed to any sharp edges here. So yeah, that one right there I need to address. I think I'll just do that with this sandpaper right here. Just kind of change that angle a little bit. See what it looks like. That's going to look pretty good there. So we have all these cleats to put in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and cut all the rest of these cleats here. We have 4 more to 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 more to do. So let me go ahead and cut these off, and then we'll come back and start gluing those in. Now, each and every one of these need to be sanded, and I am using this 220 here to do this. We're just chamfering the top edges here. As you can see, I know I said we'd come back and glue these in, but I'm just kind of smoothing out those rough edges there. And I guess, yeah, you kind of want all of these to be the same as far as the chamfering goes. So, that looks good. Now, here's something that I used to use a lot. That's got something glued to it. Paper, I guess. But these are, women use these for doing their fingernails. So, but it is roughly between 220 and 150 there. So we can use that as a sanding stick if you don't have regular modeling sanding sticks. And you got a coarse side here and a finer side. So I'm going to kind of use that finer side. I don't want to get into the rough stuff. So, yeah, we can use this. And that's a little bit easier. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You can use either one. But the fingernail filing stick really works really well for adjusting those angles on the ends. So we're going to chamfer these. And we have to do all of these cleats like this because, remember, it's bad for the fishermen to get thrown around in the boat and be injured by a sharp edge. And you don't want any sharp edges there. So, yeah. And we just check our fit here. I think I got it backwards. Should be good. Yeah, so I got 2 more to clean up, so I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so we got all of our cleats done here, ready to go, and I'm going to use my little desktop vacuum cleaner here. Kind of keep all this cleaned up. Don't need a real big mess there. This works really good. If you don't have one, get yourself one. It works really good for not only plastic models, but wooden models as well. And so now here we are. We got all of our cleats cut. They're ready to go. And we just need to glue these into place. So we're going to need our water again and something to put our glue into. I think this time, you know, when I was doing this or starting this project more or less, I wanted to use just the tools that they gave us, but there are just some things that is so much easier to do. So that's kind of where I'm at. All right, so I'm going to lay these out in the order that they need to go in, facing the direction that I have cut them. And we're going to start with this one up here. Now you can put the glue on the cleat itself, or you can put the glue right there. I'm just going to put the glue on this because this is bigger. It's bigger. And I can hold on to it. So there, that's good. And we'll just take our piece, line it up like so, sort of. That one might be a little short. I don't know. We're going to press it down. Now, once you press this down, it really grabs. So there it is. It's grabbed. It's caught. Got a little bit of squeeze out there. I'll just wipe that off like that. We're going to move on to our next cleat. So a little bit of glue here. I'm just going to run it right down the center. We already know that our cleats are a little bit larger than the actual laser cut guidance there for us. So we're just going to go center of it. Kind of eyeball it there. Am I not being precise? So we just need to get these into place like so and get them pressed down, and that glue is just going to grab that because this basswood is really porous, so it really grabs onto that glue. As you can see, I know I've got plenty of glue underneath it, and I don't have any squeeze out, so we're kind of okay there. May get some squeeze out here. I used a big dollop. And so the idea here is just to keep moving down the bottom planks here, gluing all of our cleats into place. Now the ends of these are cut pretty much 90 degrees. And we're going to have to hold this one a little bit. I'm just kind of making sure that I've got the same spacing here, or relatively the same spacing there on either end there, because it doesn't go all the way to the end. We'll just hold that down for a moment. Probably best to lay it down. And we'll get that little bit of squeeze out there. I want this to really grab. And this glue really does a good job of grabbing this wood. So there we go. Just kind of check it. Yeah, see how it's all flush? It's not pulling back up. It really does grab that. I am really surprised. Of course, I'm used to doing larger projects that you're gluing up, like a table or chair or something. So I'm used to having to use a lot of glue, and it takes a while to set. So I'm going to keep putting these cleats up, and we'll come back and look at it when it's done. So, okay, so I got our cleats in place. Now, they're not dry yet, but I kind of lined this one up with that front edge there, and this one pretty much with the scribed or laser cut line towards this end. I'm not sure which end I'm at, but I really wanted all of this on the edges here to be the same, regardless of what the laser cut is, because you can see here how the laser cut is really close to the edge here, and it's not over there. So I think trying to keep that kind of unison all the way down the edge is probably our best bet. So it doesn't say that in the instructions, but that's just kind of my take on it. And then when you put these in, just kind of eyeball it and make sure that you're at a 90 degree to those plank seams there for the bottom. And let's see. Let's take our... Let me move that out of the way. So where are we at here? Kind of looks like sort of where we're at. So if we line this up, is that... What I don't want, I'm not really worried about these little ribs here, because those we put in ourselves, but these here that are overlapped, those are the ribs that this is going to be glued to. So, and I'm not worried about these two down here. I'm sorry, you can't see that. There we go. These two little ones down here. But these main frames that we've got going across here, we don't want that being in the way there. We don't want our cleats. So you can see we got a main frame here, and you can tell because it's offset. This is offset from that, as you can see, because we have an overlap there. So if I line this up in here like this onto our plans, you can see that the main ribs will set right there, and set right there, and set right there. So we're good in that respect. We're okay back here, no problem. This might be kind of close, but I think we're good there too. So the cleats are not in the way. So we're in good shape. I just want to make sure everything's down good. Make sure it's down good. And yeah, that glue really grabs. It really grabs. So yeah, we're in good shape here. So we've got our bottom 3 boards, and then we've got our 6 cleats on. And let's go see what else we got to do here. Okay, so I've been thinking about this, and as you can tell here, these cleats don't really line up with the plans. So I've got this one centered right here. This is off, so on and so forth. And I don't know. Maybe it's supposed to be like that. But they don't line up at all. So, okay, here's what we're going to do. We have a dot here. Now, there was a dot over here and over here, but it's been covered up by the cleat there. And if you look right here, it says, note the dots indicating the bow end. The dots indicate the bow end. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a B here, very lightly. That's the bow. And then back here, an S for the stern. And we're gonna go with that. Okay. So this is gonna be the bow, and this is gonna be the stern, and I mean, since it doesn't really match our plans here, there's supposed to be 1/24. Of course, the laser cut areas there didn't match up, but that's okay. We're gonna be all right. I'm fairly confident that we're going to be okay. Oh, goodness gracious. So, yeah, that's what we're going with, bow and stern. So, from here on out, that's, I guess that's what it's going to be. So, just another thought here. I think maybe it's because this piece is actually supposed to be bowed. And if you bow it, and we line it up bowed, does it come closer? Well, it comes closer, as you can see there. I hope you can see it. So it's quite a bit of deflection there I got going on, but well, it's closer. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we're okay here. Bow and stern. So, since these plans are two-dimensional, of course, and the boat itself, when this goes on, it is going to be bowed. I don't know how far off, but that's something to kind of keep in mind there. That if this is bowed, it is not going to line up if it's flat. So that's a dimensional thing there. And as you can see here, if we bow it, it gets more in line. Of course, that's way more, I think, than what the boat's going to end up as in the end. So yeah, okay. So anyway, we're going with that. Let's go with that. So that's our boat bottom. Now we're going to go ahead and go to step 2, adding the stem. And you've heard the term before, stem to stern. Well, that's the front or the bow section here. And we'll just take and cut this free. I think we only have one protrusion here that we need to do. There we go. And again, I'm going to trim this the same way because our grain runs this way. So I don't want to cut into the grain. I want to cut across. So we'll just clean that up right there. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to square this bottom edge here. Because you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not. Let me see. Let me see if I can get you to see. Yeah. Let's see. I need something light in the background. There we go. See that? Yeah. It's got a little bevel on it there. It's not supposed to be that way. And that's because of the way the laser cut this thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to sand that. We need to be on a vertical. Where's my little piece of sandpaper? So I'm going to use my square here and put my paper there. and hold this flat on the mat. And we're going to sand it off flat. I hope I'm sanding it flat anyway. So, alright, so I need to do some more sand in there to get this square, because we want our stem to stand true and vertical there. So, probably easier if I didn't do this with the camera running, but we're almost there. And see how fast that actually goes? That goes pretty quick. So this basswood is fairly soft. And I just want to be careful and get it just right here. In these early phases of construction, if you're off a little bit, it's going to be off a whole lot much later. So we don't want to do that. Okay. That's pretty good. I like that. Got a little bit of edge there. Alright, so I also need to sand this here. We're going to get rid of this char just on the inside. We'll get this smoothed out. And we're also going to roll the edges a bit, because remember, we don't want we don't want any sharp edges there. We don't want the people that's in the boat to be injured, and also those sharp edges are easy to splinter, and we don't want splinters. That's when things can get pretty ugly, especially if the seas are rough. Get that taken care of right there. Get it nice and smooth. And then we're going to come back in and take this edge right here, and we want to roll that edge over. And remember, we don't want to go too far. We just want to keep it symmetrical, left and right. Roll those edges over. There we go. At least that's what they tell us in the instructions, and I'm going to follow the instructions, unlike what I normally do, because I don't know anything about boat building. So I guess I'll find out if what I'm doing is right when we get done here. So give it a good look there. See where we're at. We kind of look all right there. I don't think I'm too worried about that being square. I think we might cut that later. I don't know if we cut it or not. To be honest with you, I hadn't got that far in the instructions. But I think that post actually stands up proud of that rail that goes around. So there we go. That looks good. So we're going to leave the char here on this leading edge, because that's going to actually work in our advantage, to our advantage here later on, because we will be sanding the two sides there together, and as the char disappears, we know that we're in the middle. So we're going to leave that in there. So let's clean this up real quick. Don't need a dirty mat. So that's the stem. So now we're going to glue this into place using our yellow glue. I don't think I really need to get a big dollop out. What would be the easiest way to do this? Can I just reach in there and grab some? I think so. So we are at our bow here. We got to be inside the line. There. It's not very much glue, so I didn't want to put that in that little pan, and then there being way too much glue. So we're going to line this up, press it into place. Now I can't see my line. Hopefully I got it there. Hold it for a few seconds here, and that's going to let it grab hold. Now before the glue sets up, we need to take a look at it and check it to make sure that we are where we need to be. Use my fingernail if I need to move it over. Seems like we're okay. If we don't get this right, then our boat's going to go around in circles. All right, I'm just checking to see if there's any real squeeze out. A little bit of squeeze out on this side. Normally you get squeeze out. I think we're all right there. Does that look straight to you guys? That looks straight to me, I guess. Now, yeah, you can see that it's going to have the corners there, but we're going to fare all that in, so, you know, with sanding it, so that's not a problem. So, all right, so we got our stem in place. Set that aside and let it dry. So with number 2 done, we're moving on to number 3, adding the transom and the stern knee. So the knee is this piece. This is the transom. So we got to put our transom together. That's the first thing. Yep. Okay. So we're going to need a couple of parts here. We need our transom, which is this triangular looking piece there. We will cut that tab, and we're doing this from the back side. There we go. And then we have a cleat, this right here, that goes on top there to reinforce the transom. We'll just cut that out as well. Now, I'm not cutting all these parts out because, you know, until I'm ready to actually work with them. Because if we do, we're going to have a problem. We're also going to need a knee. So that's this little piece here. And we will go ahead and cut him out. Hopefully I don't break it. But we'll be into boat repair. Alright, so that's gone. So we're going to work on this first. We need to clean up these edges. That's number 1. And then the edges on this we need to clean. And then we need to put this in place, and we need to line up those holes. I wonder if we can do that with a toothpick. Can I do that with a toothpick? Just kind of... Tell you what, before we do that, well, let's just go ahead and clean this up. So I'm going to sand these edges here first. I'm going to do that. Let me get these sanded up, and then we'll come back and figure out how we're going to put that on. So here's what I've done. I just sanded up the edges here, right? And then I did radius, the top of it there, on both sides on our transom here, to make it smooth. Now I haven't done anything with the edges other than just cleaned up the char there. That's all I did. And then for our cleat that goes right here, we have taken and cleaned up the edges. And only on the face, this face is inboard here, like so. I just radiused the top edge and the bottom edge. And it is going to overhang, but I think when we put the boat together, we end up fairing all of this in. So it's going to have a bevel on it eventually. Eventually, so... Alright, so let's get this glued into place here. Back to our glue bottle. Get us some glue here coming out. I'm just going to reach up in here and grab some because I don't really want tons of glue for such a small part. Probably help if I'm more underneath the camera so that you can see what I'm doing. And then you can also scream at me, "No, don't do that. You're doing it wrong." Which I very well may be. I might be doing it wrong. I don't know. So we're going to line this up. So I'm just using a toothpick here to line my holes up. They say that that's important. And then we're going to give it a squeeze here. Push it down into place. I want to check my holes again. See, we seem to be lined up where it's supposed to be. So the instruction says make sure that you got your holes lined up. So we are lined up. And we're just going to go ahead and remove a little bit of squeeze out that we got going on there. We don't have to deal with that later. Once this yellow glue dries, it becomes extremely hard. So that is going to be probably our biggest issue, is making sure that we've done cleanup correctly. Now you can use isopropyl alcohol, or better known as rubbing alcohol, to dissolve it and clean up, or soften it so that you can clean it up. And I imagine we're probably going to run into that. Since this boat's going to be built upside down, that's going to create an issue for us later on. So next up we've got a knee. This is called the knee. And that's going to go right there. However, we can't glue it up like that, because if we did, because of the cut, it would be so, if I can get it around here, it would be so crooked. So we're going to do this the exact same way that we did the stem on the front of our boat. We're going to have to square this so that, well, it glues up square. If it's not square, it's going to lean, and if it leans, it's going to be bad. So I'm going to go ahead and square this up off camera. You already see me do it once, so I have to do both sides here. I need to do this, and I need to do this one, and then I need to go ahead and sand this and also radius those edges on the that's going to be up on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and get this sanded up and ready to go, so that you don't have to sit there and watch me sanding it. All right, so here's our knee, and I went ahead and radiused these edges that'll be up inside the boat there, and I squared it. However, what I will tell you is that I did not get all the char off because I didn't want to get it too thin. But it looks like it's kind of not quite finished. Now that I'm looking at it, right there, that's not quite right. So let me see if I can straighten that up a little bit more there. Oh yeah, that's much better. Much better. So what I'm looking at here is this, you probably can't see it, this corner right here. If I put a little line on it, there. If it's going off to the left or right, then you're not square, so you need to really make sure that you're square. Because if it's not square, the boat's not going to be square. And if the boat's not square, we're not going to be happy. And all right, that's much better. Much better. A little bit of fine tuning there. So, next thing, we have to glue this right here. And here's my concern. That knee has to be perfectly center of this transom here, this wedge shape. So we're going to have to sight down it and make sure that the point here comes out in the center of this. Now, I'll show you what I mean as soon as I get it on there. Going to need some glue, a little bit of glue here. And give me some glue. There we go. That's probably more than enough. So this basswood really soaks up this glue. Should give us a nice strong bond, I hope. I hope it does. So our line's going to disappear when the glue squeezes out, just like that. Oh, hasn't grabbed. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. So now I need to find my line again. It's in there somewhere. That is not helping, is it? I am done knocked it off course. We are knocked off course here. All right. Get that back into place there. So if we're in the middle right here, and then we look down here and we're not, we need to rotate this until we are center. Or as center as I can get it. Oh, that doesn't look too bad to me. But I got a crooked eye, so oops. I just dropped my part. Maybe it's not center. A little bit more. Yeah, there we go. All right. That's a fair attempt there, I think. So the glue has grabbed. Now you can still take this piece off if you need to. But we don't need to. Well, I guess we don't need to. I don't know. Here we go. Let's clean this up without knocking it off again. Since we're painting this, I'm not really worried about going over it too much with water and all that to clean all that up. So, all right, that actually looks pretty good. All right, so now we're going to have to let this dry. So I'm going to give it 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and trim it down. Okay, so I let this dry about 20 minutes. It seems to be nice and firm. I think I think we can work with it. And now we've got to take care of this little nub sticking down here. And as you can see here in our instructions, that's what they want us to do. So we're going to sand that off flat and not disturb our nice flat right angle that we sanded on the mat, because it's going to be really hard to reestablish that if we mess up that angle there. So we don't want to do that. So you can use a sanding stick or whatever. I'm going to use this for fingernails. And I'm just going to sand it off quickly here, get it down where it needs to be. And now I'm going to be very careful, because I need this to mate up with the knee that we have glued there without changing the angle of the knee. Because if we do that, we're going to be in bad shape. It'll be crooked. We don't want crooked. I just need that to come down to the knee. Almost there. You can see how fast this basswood sands, so you do need to be careful and don't over sand it. All right, I'll just clean this up a little bit right there. Got fuzzies on it, but that's okay, because I think we're going to fare all that in anyway. So the next thing, let me take care of this. There we go. We're all vacuumed up. So the next thing is to attach our transom and knee assembly here to the bottom of the boat. And I don't know where it goes. I don't know if it should be like that, or if we should follow that line, because that's going to leave a gap. And I think that's wrong. See that gap we got going on there? I feel that this should be at least that close. Actually, I feel that it should be that close, to be honest with you. Let me take a look and yeah, I need to take a look at the pictures. See what they look like. Let me see what the pictures look like. Hang on. Okay, so here we are. Here's our transom. Here's our knee. And you can see right there, it laps right on top. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to push it all the way up as far as I can and get the transom on point. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put that on point, because just like so, I'm going to put it right there on the corner. And just stay in the middle there. Right on the corner. That's where we're going to go with this. This is what we're going to do. Command decision. And that's what we're doing. So I'm going to need my glue again. Get me a little bit of glue coming out here. We're going to be moving up forward a little bit there. Now that'll squeeze out a little bit there. I'm not really too worried about the squeeze out. I am worried about getting it cleaned up good. I don't want any mess down inside there. I'm probably going to have to do this right here, flat on the mat. Line it up. It's moving around on me. And it's crooked as heck. Got to get it moved around before it grabs. The more pressure you add to it, that glue will grab, and then it's almost impossible to move. Actually looks okay, I guess. It looks pretty good. Get it pressed down there, and then we'll come back and clean this up, I guess. See if I have to make an adjustment here in a second. Not sure. I'm not sure. Looks all right to me. Does it look all right to you guys? Kind of looks like it needs a twist just a little bit there, doesn't it? I'll give it a little twist. So this could be because I didn't get this this edge right here on the knee absolutely square. I'm just going to cant it just a little bit there to true it up, because we've already got that glued up. And I mean, we could dissolve that glue and start all over there on the knee, but I think I'm just going to go with that right there. I think it'll be fine. It's going to be all right. Actually, probably the best way to check is to put it flat and make sure everything is seated here on the mat, and then look and see if it straightens itself out. Now that actually looks good there, like that, I guess. Well, yeah. All right. Okay. I'm going to go with that. I'm thinking about it, and I don't know. Should I rip it back off? No, I think it's okay. Looks good. It'll be fine. I think we're good. Well, okay. So that's what we got right there. We got our 3 board bottom, plank bottom done with all the cleats on it. And we got our stem taken care of, and that is glued into place. And then we built up our transom here with the cleat with the 2 holes in it there. Got that all lined up, and we also radiused the top of the transom there, and as well as those exposed edges on our on the cleat. And then for our knee, that was a little bit of, that's a lot of sanding. I mean, it sands quickly. That's not the issue. The issue is trying to get that 90 degree right there. It's got to be this way 90 and that way 90 to the vertical in order for these parts to actually mate up. Because of the laser cutting process, when they burn through it, you know, from the front, more wood gets burnt, you know, laser cutting this out than it does when the laser exits the backside. So it kind of leaves a bevel there that that you gotta straighten it up. Because if you don't straighten it up, that was a moth. So I don't think you see that. Yeah, you got to really do the best you can to get that as true as possible there. Because if you don't, then everything's going to get really out of whack. And I think we did a pretty good job of doing that. So I think we're in there. I think. Sight down there. So, okay. So that's going to be part 1 there for our Dory. And I hope you enjoyed the video. I know this format is a bit longer than what I normally do. Normally I just do the voiceover thing, but here we got a... He came back. So here we got a really good start on this. Part 2, well, we'll start working on whatever's next. I think we got to do the ribs. So we've got to do the ribs and our assembly board and get all that set up. And oh, and we got to bend this. And I can't do it right now because I'm going to wait until the glue is all dry. Let's see, photo bomb. So yeah, we're going to we have to wet this and bend it and let it dry. But while we'll do that first in the next video because we got to let all this glue dry here. And then we'll start building up those ribs and see how far we get there. So, my buddy the moth there. Okay, special thanks to all my viewers. It's because of you guys that I make these videos, and I hope that you enjoyed this one, our first build video of our Hillbilly Shipwright. So, we'll see how all this works out. Now, hey, if you're new to the... There he goes again. If you're new to the channel and not a subscriber, I hope today I earned your subscription. And thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you again in the regular Friday videos, and then whenever I get the rest of this moving, we'll have another video on this. So you guys stay safe, and I'll see you again.